esvacı, tahiret evladı, Resul Ashab-ı Güzün efendilerimizin sayr-ı emmiyan ve zurufin hazirat-ı ervah şereflerine, pirimiz Bilal-ı Hamiş radıyallahu anh efendimizin ve alel husus bu caminin bahanesi ve bugüne kadar içerisinden gelmiş geçmiş imam mezdin kayyumlarının ve kahve ehli ivan ervah için Allah rızası için El Fatiha. Euzubillahimineşşeytanirracim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. İnnallâhe ve melâketehu yusallûne alen-nebi. Ya eyyühellezîne amenü sallu aleyhi ve sellimu teslîmâ. Allahümme salli ala seyyidina Muhammed ve ala ali seyyidina Muhammed. Allahu Ekber, Allahu Ekber. Allahu Ekber, Allahu Ekber. Eşhedü en la ilahe illallah. Eşhedü en la ilahe illallah. Eşhedü enne Muhammeden Resulullah. Eşhedü enne Muhammeden Resulullah. Hayya ale's-salâh. Hayya ale's-salâh. Hayya alel-felâh. Hayya alel-felâh. Allahu Ekber, Allahu Ekber. La ilahe illallah.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Elhamdülillah, elhamdülillah. Elhamdülillahi Rabbil alemin. Ve salatu ve selamu ala Resulina Muhammedin ve ala alihi ve sahbihi ecma'in. Nahmedullah Teala ve nagfiru ve neşhedü en la ilahe illallah vahdehu la şerike leh. Ve neşhedü enne seyyidina Muhammeden abduhu ve habibuhu ve resuluhu. Sallallahu aleyhi ve ala alihi ve ezvacihi ve sahbihi. Hulefai Raşidin Mahdi min ba'di vazirem ala tahkik. Hususen müsalemeti Hulefai Rasul ala tahkik. Umaral Mu'minin Hazreti Ebu Bakr, Umar, Osman ve Ali. وعلى بقية الصحابة التابعين رضوان الله تعالى عليهم أجمعين. يا أيها المؤمنون الحاذرون اتقوا الله تعالى واتقوا إنما الذين تقوا الذين هم محسنون. الحمد لله رب العالمين. والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا مولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. All praises are due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Lord of the worlds. All praises are due to Him, who created the heavens and the earth and everything in between. All praises are due to He who is the most forgiving, most merciful. All praises are due to Him who has written on His throne, my mercy blessings be upon the most honored one in the divine presence, the seal of the prophets, the sultan of the messengers, the mercy to all the worlds, our beloved Master Muhammad ﷺ, and upon his blessed family and noble companions. Ayyuhal mu'minun, O believers, we are in the middle of the most holy days of the first month of the Islamic New Year, the holy month of Muharram. The Holy Prophet ﷺ said in his Hadith Sharif, the best of fasts after the month of Ramadan are in the month of Allah, which you call Muharram. Believers must be running to show the importance and respect to these holy days and holy nights, to increase in their fasting, in their worship, in their obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the believers are those ones who are always thinking and reflecting on the signs of their Lord, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Believers are not those ones who who think and reflect according to their own opinions, their own ego, their own ideas, or their own intelligence. So many are taking this ayat nowadays and twisting it only for the sake of their ego, coming up with new ideas that Allah and His Prophet had never put, that never for 1400 years Muslims, scholars and saints they've ever put. But now in these days of Dajjal, taking this ayat and saying, Allah is saying for us to think and reflect, so we must come up with new ideas. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Surah Al-Imran, in the creation of the heavens and the earth, and the alternation of night and day, there are signs for people of intelligence. Those who remember Allah standing, sitting, and lying on their sides. It is clear from this ayat that those who think and reflect from the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are those ones who are in constant remembrance of Him, those who are making zikr. Not those who are running away from the remembrance of Allah or the remembrance of the lifestyle of the Prophet ﷺ. Those ones may think and they may reflect, but they are doing it according to their shaitan, not according to Rahman. And amongst the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are these holy days and holy nights that He had given to the children of Adam. These holy days and holy nights, they are a time to sit down and reflect, for man to come back to himself and to understand what he is doing and what kind of servant he is being to his Lord. In these holy days of Muharram, the months of Allah are 12. And one of the signs that a nation has deviated from the real teachings of what Allah has sent is when they start to play with their calendar. They start to play with time. They start to play with the months. The months of Allah are 12. It has always been, it is, and it was always will be. Don't think that the months of Allah that are 12 in the Islamic calendar is something that some people just make up 1,000 years ago, or 1,400 years ago, or 800 years ago. The month of Muharram, continuing until the month of Zulhijjah, the first and the last 12 months, it has always been sacred and holy to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the beginning of time, from pre-eternity. The month of Muharram, it has always been sacred and holy to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from pre-eternity. It has been sacred during the time of Adam alayhi salam. It is sacred and holy in the time of Nuh alayhi salam, in the time of Ibrahim alayhi salam, in the time of Isa alayhi salam, and the time of our Holy Prophet alayhi salam, until Judgment Day. And we are the nation of witnesses, because we are witnessing to the original teachings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He has given to the earlier nations and their prophets, that the earlier nations, they have forsaken, they have betrayed, and they have left. And we are the nation to witness that we are continuing this ancient and natural tradition that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put from the beginning. The holy days and nights, they are connected to the history of mankind, especially in this month. The Qurban that we had just passed, it is connected to the sacrifice of Ibrahim alayhi salam, that he sacrificed his son Ismail alayhi salam. The Bani Israel, they have forsaken this. They are no longer remembering that event. And we, the nation of the last prophet, are the only ones who is continuing that event that happened more than 4,000 years ago. Laylatul Mi'raj is connected to the ascension of the Holy Prophet ﷺ. And the sign of the munafiq, the sign of people who have deviated from the way, is for them to say, this day of ascension, this day of Mi'raj, it is not important in the history of Islam. They forsake that remembrance, that celebration, and they say, no, Bayram celebration is only 2. They are reminding us these events of the great tests that the beloved prophets and friends of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they went through to teach us, to prepare us, to make us to walk on this road to return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the way of the prophets. Inshallah Rahman, in a few days we will be entering into one of these great holy days. We will be entering into that holy day of Ashura. This day that we are approaching, it is one of the most beloved days of the year to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That even if the majority of the Muslims, they are not observing this day, that this day, maybe some are saying, if you celebrate, then you are Shia. That they say there's no place in the Ahl Sunnat traditions. They are wrong. Ashura has been celebrated before there was a Shia. It has been celebrated during the time of the Prophet ﷺ by those ones, yes, who are called Ahl Sunnah, because they are the ones who walks in the traditions of the Sunnah of the Rasulullah ﷺ. It had continued from that time until now. And because of the confusion of the Akhir Zaman, any mention of celebrating or remembering the day of Ashura, they say this is a deviation from Islam. This is one of the tricks and the traps of Dajjal in these last days for the believers. And the believers, we must wake up. The Sahaba Kiram said to the Holy Prophet ﷺ, Ya Rasulullah, it would seem that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He has given preference to the day of Ashura over all the other days. And Holy Prophet ﷺ said, yes, He has. Allah has given preference of the day of Ashura over all the other days. He explained, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the heavens on the day of Ashura. He created the mountains on the day of Ashura. He created the oceans on the day of Ashura. He created the pen on the day of Ashura. He created the tablet on the day of Ashura. He created Adam alayhi salam on the day of Ashura, and He caused him to enter the gardens of paradise on the day of Ashura. Ibrahim alayhi salam was born on the day of Ashura, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saved him from the fire on the day of Ashura. He caused Fir'aun to drown on the day of Ashura. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cured Ayub alayhi salam from his trials and tests on the day of Ashura. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepted the tawbah of Adam alayhi salam on the day of Ashura. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepted the prayer of Dawood alayhi salam on the day of Ashura. Isa alayhi salam was born on the day of Ashura, and the day of resurrection will happen on the day of Ashura. Look at the greatness of this day. And how many believers in these days are going to celebrate this? This is one of the forgotten sunnahs of the Prophet ﷺ that we must revive. There are those stubborn, square-head, empty-head ones who are starting to doubt and deny so many traditions of the Prophet ﷺ based on their ego, based on non-intelligence, based on no knowledge. But rest assured, we must be confident that the celebration of Ashura has continued from the time of the Prophet ﷺ continuously for 1300 years as an ummah, as a nation, and is supported by countless scholars and countless saints and countless salihins. If you think in this Akhir Zaman, surrounded by kufr in the age of Dajjal, you know better than these countless saints and scholars, then we say good luck to you. That means that your ego has completely reached up to Sidratul Muntaha, and you're not going to listen to anything. And you consider yourself better than anyone else. Better than the Sahaba Kiram. Better than Salafus Salihin. Better than Tabi'in. Better than Tabi'in. Because it is enough for the believer who is using his intelligence. He sees that on his day, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shows His mercy. So we must ask ourselves, are we preparing ourselves to ask and beg Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for His mercy in these days? Or are we going to just let them pass like a routine, living our own robotic lifestyle? These are the days that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is sending rahmat and forgiveness from the skies and from the earth. These are the days that the prophets, they were blessed and they were forgiven. And those who are in the way of the prophets, they are going to take this day and they are going to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgiveness for them and for this nation, not to let it pass. We are the weak children of the Adam of the Akhir Zaman. We do not have the luxury of letting these days to go without running to seek the forgiveness and mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Believers must show the respect for the day of Ashura so that we may attain the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hazrat Ibn Abbas radiallahu an related that the Holy Prophet ﷺ said, if someone fasts on the day of Ashura, Allah will record in his favor the ibadat of 60 years devoted to fasting by day and keeping vigil, staying up all night to worship by night. If someone fasts on the day of Ashura, he will be granted the spiritual reward of 1,000 martyrs, of 1,000 shaheeds. If someone fasts on the day of Ashura, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will record in his credit column all the rewards of the inhabitants of the 7 heavens. If we lose this day of Ashura, if we do not prepare for it, if we let it pass empty, we are the ones who's going to lose, not Allah, not His Prophet, not the beloved ones. Holy Prophet ﷺ said, if one becomes worried, he hurries up. And if he hurries up, he reaches his destination sooner. As believers, we must be worried about our death, about our grave, and about our standing before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on Judgment Day. Don't be worried about this life and its treasures. Worry about our safety of the next life. And in this day of Ashura, we remember one of the sultans of the next life, the grandson of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, whose sacrifice has written his names and the names of his companions in golden letters in this world and the next. Hazrat Hussein ibn Ali radiallahu an. On the day of Ashura, more than 1400 years ago, he went to Karbala, gave his life. He sacrificed his life to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. O believers, Hazrat Hussein on this day of Ashura, in the fields of Karbala, he set an example for all those who claim to be servants of Allah until the last day. And on that day of Ashura, the division came between those who are Husseini and those who are Yazidis. And that division in reality came from the beginning of the world until the end. The side of Adam alayhi salam and the side of Shaitan. The side of Habil and the side of Kabil. The side of Ibrahim alayhi salam and the side of Nemrut. The side of Musa alayhi salam and the side of Firaun. The side of Holy Prophet alayhi salam and the side of Abu Jahil and the enemies of Islam. O believers, the time of Husseinis and Yazidis did not end in the fields of Karbala. It continues until today. We must ask, which side are we on? In this day of Ashura that is coming, we have to ask ourselves, whose side am I on? Would I really be with Hazrat Hussein? Or would I have abandoned him in the darkness of night? And in this time, the world is dividing again between the side of Mahdi alayhi salam and the side of Dajjal. On the day of Ashura, we must sit and sincerely ask ourselves, whose side are we on? Who are we working for? And that answer, if we are sincere, will come to our heart. And when that answer comes in that day of Ashura, in these holy days of Muharram, sit and make sajda and beg our Lord Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for His forgiveness and tawbah. And beg to be on the side of Haqq, to be on the side of Hazrat Hussein, on the side of Mahdi alayhi salam, on the side of our Shaykh in these days that are coming. Because if we are on the wrong side, we will burn with regret, this life and the next. And the only way to be on the right side is to hang on tightly to that urwati wufqa, to that firm handhold, so that He may lead us to the right way. For this Jamaat, we must hang on tightly to Sahib al-Saif and his way, the way of Sultan al-Awliya, Shaykh Maulana Muhammad Nazim al-Haqqani. No matter what, you will be on the side of Hazrat Hussein and Hazrat Mahdi. Let go, and there is no help, not in this life and not in the next. Astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah, lazim al-lazi, la ilaha illa huwa al-hayy al-qayyum wa atubu ilayh. Tabatana bin zalm sanshura Allahumma anta. لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له له الملك وله الحمد يحيي ويميت على كل شيء قدير. لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له له الملك وله الحمد يحيي ويميت على كل شيء قدير. لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له له الملك وله الحمد يحيي ويميت على كل شيء قدير. لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إن كنت من الظالمين. لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إن كنت من الظالمين. لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إن كنت من الظالمين. سبح قدوس ربنا رب الملائكة والروح. سبح قدوس ربنا رب الملائكة والروح. سبح قدوس ربنا رب الملائكة والروح. إن دين عند الله الإسلام.